say I'm absolutely delighted with the work that has been achieved in this bill so far. The phrase child pornography has always made me feel uneasy, but since becoming a mother I have realised just how inappropriate and disgusting this phrase is. This term is out of date and completely incorrect. It does not truly reflect the nature of the abuse, and it is unacceptable to continue to use such an inappropriate language when reference such an awful crime. I would like to thank Jessica Bray, Emer Taylor and all my team for helping me put together this very important bill, and a big thank you to my civil engagement colleagues and Deputy Pringle for supporting me in bringing this forward. I would also like to thank Mary Crilly, Caroline West and Vicky Conway for meeting with me and working with my team regarding this legislation, and for the amazing work they are doing while researching and drafting this bill. There were many different language options to consider. We had originally used the term child sexual abuse material. However, we decided that the term child sexual exploitation material better describes the number of ways in which a child might face abuse. We felt the word exploitation recognises how varied the abuse may be. We must be clear. What is current here is exploitation. While drafting the bill, we also came across possible legal issues with changing the title of an existing act, which had not been done before. However, changing the title of an act does not change the reference number of that act, and so you can still identify and reference acts in this way. There should be no issue then in changing the title of our legislation, should we need to do so. And in this case, it is extremely necessary to do it. We can all think of words that have been used commonly in recent past that would now be recognised as offensive and divisive. I would like to think that should be. I would like to think that should these words be harmful to people, be written in our laws, that we would not hesitate to amend and replace them. This is the case here. While pornography is not a problematic word, it is used in the incorrect context. It's abuse. Where there is no consent, we must name it for what it is: exploitation, assault and abuse. In 2016, a global organisation who aims to tackle child trafficking and exploitation gathered an international working group of 18 international organisations. The results was the Luxembourg guidelines. The guidelines outlined the important language can have in assisting and supporting victims and vulnerable people. They recognise the role of communications and the power of language. The guidelines recommended that the term child pornography was incorrect, and as policymakers, we have the responsibility to ensure that we are using best practice terminology. This has been recognised at an international level, and it has also been recognised at a local level. I had the pleasure of speaking to representatives of the Fix It campaign this week, who has been doing great work in fixing Irish news headlines to use more appropriate language. They go by the method language matters, and it does matter. Language is a powerful tool, and we need to ensure that language we are using is appropriate and inclusive. It is time that this is recognised at a national level. Language is a shared experience. It allows us to communicate with each other. Our words carry meanings. We must be careful about terminology that we use. There can be no room for misunderstanding in Irish legislation. We must ensure that we are using the correct and appropriate language. The use of the phrase child pornography is incorrect and dangerous. We need a phrase that better reflects the nature of the abuse and the crime. We need to shift the focus onto the perpetrator and not the victim. By changing the language of our laws, we can guide the narrative on these issues. Language shapes and defines our understanding. The words we use are important. The terminology we use is vital. We must remove incorrect and harmful language in our legislation. We need to make sure how we speak about and recognise abuse is correct. Let's get rid of the word child pornography from our statutory books. Our laws should be written to protect those that they serve by implementing appropriate language that truly names the action of the crime. We know that it's the right thing to do is to change the name of this act. We know that it is child exploitation. We must shine a light onto the actions that are being suffered by countless children. It's our job to protect children in this country. We must listen to them regarding their experience and to do what we can to support children and victims. We must start by labelling what they went through correctly, which is child exploitation. I've said it many times before, I'll say it again, and many times again. When we're talking about, what we're talking about here is not pornography. It's exploitation, it's abuse, and it must change. And today, we have the power in this House to lead by example and to change our language in our legislation. Thank you, Oireachtas.